There's a moment that happens in almost every store. You walk in planning to spend $900 on a TV. You do your research. You've watched reviews. You've narrowed it down. And then you see it. A 75-inch TV for $399. And suddenly, your brain goes, do I really need to spend more? That moment right there is where most TV regret starts. Not because cheap TVs are evil, not because budget brands are scams, but because price compresses your expectations. And in 2026, cheap TVs are better than they've ever been, and also more misleading than they've ever been. So today, we're ranking 10 budget TV brands from worst to best, not based on marketing, but based on real consumer sentiment, consistency, software stability, longevity expectations, and how often buyers regret going cheaply. Let's start at the bottom. Hazen Zero ONN, Walmart house brand. Let's be honest, ONN exists for one reason: price. It is built to hit ultra-aggressive pricing. Under $400, under $300 sometimes. If you browse Reddit threads about ONN TVs, you'll see a consistent pattern. Great for the price. Fine for a dorm. Don't expect much. That's not hate. That's expectation management. These TVs are basic panels, basic processing, minimal dimming, heavy ad-driven software. If you're buying a bedroom TV for casual streaming, totally fine. If this is your main TV for the next 8 years, high risk. Not because it will explode, because it will age fast. #9 Insignia, Best Buy house brand. Insignia is slightly more polished than ONN, but it plays in the same lane. Reddit sentiment usually says, decent for the money, good second TV. Don't compare it to premium. Insignia TVs often rely heavily on Fire TV platform, entry-level panels, minimal HDR capability. The biggest issue? HDR performance. Many buyers expect HDR magic. They get mild improvement. Again, not broken, just compressed expectations. Hashite, Toshiba, US licensed models. Toshiba in the US is largely licensed branding now. The TVs are often Fire TV based, budget-oriented breeder, retail aggressive. Reddit threads often read like this. It's fine, but nothing special. Menus lag a bit. Great for the price. That phrase keeps coming up. Great for the price? That's not the same as great. Longevity confidence is moderate. Performance ceiling is limited. #7, Westinghouse, generic imports. These are ultra-budget imports. Very big screens for very low money. If you search Reddit for Westinghouse TV discussions, you'll find comments like, picture is okay, blacks look gray, motion isn't great. These brands win the price per inch war. They lose the performance war. If size is your only priority, they win. If image quality matters, they fall short quickly. #6 Vizio entry models. Now we step into controversial territory. Vizio used to dominate value, and in some tiers, they still compete. But if you browse Reddit threads from the past couple years, a recurring complaint appears. Firmware instability, random bugs, UI freezes, app inconsistencies, picture quality for the money, often strong, software reliability, inconsistent. And when a TV's OS becomes the main complaint, that's a daily frustration. Cheap TVs can get away with average picture quality. They can't get away with annoying software. #5 Hisense entry tier. Important clarification. This ranking is about budget tiers, not flagship models. Hisense at mid-tier and above, very competitive. But entry-level Hisense models, more variance. If you search R4K TV, you'll see split opinions. My U8 is amazing. My panel had issues. Panel lottery discussions appear often. Brightness is usually strong for the price. Uniformity can vary. Hisense gives you aggressive specs, but consistency isn't always premium tier predictable. #4 TCL entry tier. TCL has climbed massively in the last 5 years. Mid-tier TCL, often excellent value. Entry tier TCL, Still budget DNA? Reddit sentiment is generally more positive here than many others in this list. But you'll still see panel lottery, some banding. Great value though. That's the key phrase, great value. TCL gives you strong spec per dollar, but you're still in budget territory. Risk level, moderate. Reward, often high for the price. #3, Samsung, entry models. Here's something people don't like hearing. Entry Samsung is not flagship Samsung. You're paying partially for brand confidence. Budget Samsung models often skip Dolby Vision. Use basic local dimming guy. Prioritize brightness over depth. Reddit discussions often say, overpriced for what it is. Paying for the logo. Now they're not bad TVs. They're just often not the best value at entry level. Samsung shines more as you climb tiers. Down low, the brand premium shows. #2 LG budget LED lines. Same story as Samsung. LG OLED, elite. LG entry LED, very average for price. If you search Reddit, should I buy this LG LED? You'll often see, if it's not OLED, skip it. That's harsh, but it reflects reality. LG's strength is OLED technology. Their budget LED lines don't compete aggressively on value against TCL or Hisense. Consistency? Good. Value? Debatable. Hashone, the brand that wins budget in 2026. Here's the uncomfortable truth. No budget brand is safe. Not the popular value names. Not the big legacy brands with cheaper lines. Not the flashy newcomer promising premium features for half the price. In 2026, the real winner in the budget TV category isn't a brand at all, it's the model. Because cheap TVs are not built around performance optimization. They're not built around longevity optimization. They're built around one thing, cost optimization. Every decision inside a budget TV starts with a number on a spreadsheet. How do we hit $399? How do we hit $499 at 65 inches? How do we undercut the competitor by $50? Panel supplier? Choose the most affordable that meets minimum spec. Processor? Enough to run the OS, not necessarily to excel at motion handling. Backlight system? Just enough zones to print local dimming on the box. Speakers? Functional. Build materials? Acceptable. None of this makes budget TVs evil. It makes them engineered for a very specific purpose, aggressive price positioning. And that's why the smartest move in 2026 isn't picking a brand. It's picking the strongest individual model within your price bracket. Because within every budget lineup, there are standouts and there are compromises that go too far. Your job isn't to swear loyalty to a logo. Your job is to find the least compromised execution of your budget. Why? The model matters more than the brand. Let's say brand A releases 5 TVs between $350 and $700. One of them might use a slightly better processor. One might have meaningfully higher peak brightness. One might have fewer reported panel uniformity issues. One might be plagued with firmware bugs. From the outside, they look similar. Same OS, same remote, same branding language. But internally, they can be very different experiences. Budget manufacturing involves sourcing parts from multiple suppliers. Panels can vary. Backlight systems can vary. Even quality control tolerances can vary across batches. That's why blanket statements like, brand X is the best cheap TV brand fall apart under scrutiny. A brand might nail one specific model in a specific year, then quietly downgrade components the following cycle to preserve margins. This is common in the budget tier. The logo stays consistent. The internal math changes, so the real strategy becomes clear. Look for last year's mid-tier model on clearance. Avoid buying at launch pricing. Check real owner complaints. Search Reddit before you click Buy Now. The best cheap TV isn't the one with the biggest screen. It's the one with the fewest recurring complaints, the clearance advantage. One of the most overlooked budget strategies is buying last year's mid-tier instead of this year's entry-level model. Why does this work? Because mid-tier models are originally built with better processing, better backlighting, and tighter quality control. When they hit clearance pricing, they often fall into the same price range as brand new entry models. Now you're getting performance optimization at cost-optimized pricing. That's the sweet spot. Manufacturers won't advertise this. Retailers won't highlight it. But experienced buyers know the real value often lives in last year's discontinued stock. The psychological reality. Cheap TVs aren't bad because they're cheap. They're bad when buyers expect premium behavior from budget hardware. That's the disconnect. When someone spends $399 on a 6.5-inch TV, something psychological happens. The screen is huge. The resolution says 4K. The box mentions HDR. The marketing language sounds impressive. Expectation inflates, but hardware reality does not. If you buy a $399 TV expecting deep OLED-level blacks, flagship-level upscaling, perfect motion during sports, reference-grade HDR brightness, an 8-year lifespan, you will be disappointed. Not because the TV is defective, but because your expectations were calibrated to marketing, not engineering. Now flip that expectation. If you buy that same $399 TV expecting a big screen, decent streaming performance, acceptable brightness in a moderately lit room, solid performance for 3-4 years, you'll probably be happy. Expectation alignment is everything in the budget tier. The hardware is designed to hit a price, not to chase perfection. When your mental model matches that reality, satisfaction increases dramatically. Longevity and the budget trade-off. Another factor people underestimate is lifespan expectations. Premium TVs are often engineered with higher-grade components, more robust thermal management, and longer support cycles. Budget TVs are engineered to survive typical warranty periods and deliver strong early value. That doesn't mean they're disposable, but it does mean expecting decade-long performance from entry-tier hardware isn't always realistic. If you're someone who upgrades every 3 to 5 years, budget models make sense. You're riding technology curves. You're benefiting from rapid improvements in backlighting and processing. If you're someone who wants to buy once and forget about it for 8 to 10 years, the budget tier becomes riskier. Not guaranteed failure, just higher statistical variability. And again, that's not a brand issue. It's a cost tier reality. The real warning. So, should you stop buying cheap TVs? No. You should stop buying cheap TVs blindly. Budget brands aren't villains. In fact, they've pushed the industry forward by forcing better price-to-performance ratios across the board. In 2026, even entry-level TVs can look surprisingly good with the right content. But budget expectations need to match budget engineering. The gap between entry-tier and mid-tier is still very real. Brighter HDR, better dimming precision, stronger motion handling, more stable firmware, those things cost money. And the biggest mistake buyers make isn't choosing the worst brand. It's assuming cheap equals good enough forever, because good enough depends on your room lighting, your content habits, your sensitivity to motion and contrast, your upgrade timeline. If you research the exact model, if you search recurring complaints, if you understand how long you plan to keep it, if you buy for your actual use case instead of the biggest diagonal number on the shelf, you dramatically reduce regret. In 2026, there is no single brand that wins budget universally. There are only well-chosen models, and the buyers who take an extra hour to research before spending hundreds of dollars, they're the ones who feel like they won. Not because they bought the cheapest TV, but because they bought the right cheap TV.